I'm Rowan Manson, Google Workspace Specialist at SADA, and I've been kindly joined by Chad Pierce, Head of Architecture and Solutions at WeWork. Chad, thank you so much for joining us for this session. I'm so excited to chat with you.
Of course, Rowan, I'm excited to chat too.
Maybe let's start. I know that you've been a long-term advocate and lover of the Google Workspace platform when it had many other names like Google Apps back in the day. So maybe you can tell us about some of your initial interactions with Workspace, some of the ways that you understood how it was a little different from other technology and how it was so helpful, and how you've seen the transition over time of the platform and the tools.
Yeah. I think my first experience with Google Workspace previously, Gmail and apps was in my education days at college, and out of college coming into the industry. It was not widely spread used at the time, and but when I came to WeWork, I was excited to find that it was the platform of choice at the time. So really excited, and it made sense for a small startup at the time of a couple hundred people and a few buildings. And as we grew, it was exciting to see how Workspace grew with us, and really coming from a world where there was the on computer applications to have these live cloud-based collaboration tools was super exciting. And it took a minute to change a lot of people's mindsets, because you're used to sending documents back and forth or sending Excel sheets back and forth and people updating them. Then you didn't know what version and saving, and changing that behavior and getting people to educated on how to use suggestions and edits and comments. Now it seems just like something of second nature, because there isn't a time where we don't just automatically spin up a document and say, hey, even for coordinated responses to different team members, or just, hey, let's throw in a doc, we'll comment, edit, suggest. And more so now than ever with the distributed workforce and people working remotely and working from different locations, to be able to actively collaborate real time. It's been a huge shift in the paradigm of how people work. Yeah, I've seen it come a long way. And I think there used to be a predisposition that it wasn't a enterprise tool. And now you're seeing that it really is. And it's been exciting to be along that journey with Google on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what you touched upon there around real-time collaboration, documents, is definitely a big culture change. And that's something that we talk about more and more over time, because it's one of the biggest things that we see in organizations that move to Google Workspace. One of the biggest impact is the change in the ways that people work together and the culture of the organization. And allowing people to work together in one version of a file at the same time is definitely a lot different to an individual working on it and sharing it, and then people passing along the chain. So I love that you mentioned that for sure. And of course, the platform has had so many fantastic improvements over time, and even a few name changes as well. But yeah, I'm very excited for some of the new things that are coming down the road with Google too, which we might get into. The transition from a video conferencing platform, Zoom, onto Google Meet. And please tell us more about that, your thoughts there, how you evaluated the needs, and then how the transition went down. I know there was a very short time period where you were able to effectively transition so many users. So please tell me more about that story.
Yeah, no, again, it's a similar situation, being cost conscientious and really evaluating the tool sets we have in our catalog. We came to the conclusion that we had duplicative services across Google Workspace and the previous video conferencing platform. And in doing that evaluation, we found the functionality we were looking to get for the majority of our team members was met by Google Meet. It was a little tighter time frame from time of sign off to full implementation. It was roughly 16 days where we migrated around 5,000 users. The good part of that, and what speaks highly to the Google experience, is people are already working in Workspace. You're adding the links to your calendar invites and other things. So it was intuitive. The major change for use change for people, or process change, was not having an app, actually dedicated app based versus a web-based video conferencing solution, which I believe now with the progressive web app has helped qualm some of those requests. And but for the most part, it was a fairly smooth transition. There was a high focus again on education, training, and documentation. There was a period of overlap where we allowed members to essentially transition meetings from one platform to another and allowed to get the use case. And then a cutoff period where we essentially took down the other platform and had to hard cut the transition over. Again, very intuitive and for the most part successful. The bigger pieces are around the actual dedicated conference rooms and things like that took a little more time, but the end user transition was seamless. So again, speaks highly to the usability and intuitiveness of Meet. The continued development of Meet has been something we've been very excited to see. even last week with getting on some early adoption of some more feature functionality that we've actually provided the feedback on is a testament to the Google team listening to their customers and adapting or adding the functionality as needed. So excited to see it continue to develop, because I think there are some areas that can still grow and really capture some additional functionality around webinars and other pieces.
Yeah, wow, so many interesting points to unpack there. I think particularly the sort of progression of Google Meet over the last 12, 18 months that you highlighted is really important to discuss and unpack. And I think we've seen a real focus from Google on making sure that they up their game, and even video conferencing platforms that are standalone and aren't included within a full suite of productivity systems. Google Meet now can be close and is able to compete at a very close level towards those, which is great. And I think Google now are maybe turning towards, as you mentioned, some of those sort of webinar or more structured type of calls where you need more controls, and maybe there's also a public presence, a sort of live streaming type of call. I think you would also like to see some functionality being added there, right?
Now, one of the functionalities we found is nice to have is that team members can actually schedule Meet video conferencings via their mobile and reply and add, and it's really enabled people to be a little more agile in the remote workforce. So it's exciting. That was a nice surprise and a benefit that we didn't have before. So it's again feeds into the whole ecosystem of the workspace.
Yeah, absolutely. This is something I love to talk about and help organizations with. The fact that there's like a cumulative benefit to the more tools and functionality that you use within the platform, because it's all integrated together, the more effectively that you can work and the more possibilities are open, the less context switching between different tools. So yeah, absolutely love that. Maybe turning away from some of the things that you've done in the past or the journey that you've had with Workspace in terms of what's coming in the future. We're hinting at it with some of these live streaming capabilities with Google Meet, but maybe particularly as we move into this sort of hybrid, working from home, working from the office, maybe working from anywhere that's appropriate. How do you think that technology is going to sort of play a role in that? And I'm really interested to hear from your perspective, of course, as WeWork has played such an important role in that story as well, of course.
We've seen the way people are coming back to the office and how they're doing it. It's not the way they used to, where everyone comes to one central location. We're really seeing it in that hub and spoke model, and people want to come into the office. They just don't necessarily want to have to go every day to the same place, or every day at the same time. And we've seen that and addressed it with our product lines like All Access and On Demand, where members can work from anywhere and allow them to be able to still have the benefits of being in the office and out of the house and be having that dedicated focus time. And where technology plays a role in that is giving that seamless experience to a team member that maybe in the Bay Area is going to the Oakland office rather than the San Francisco office, but still being able to have that same connectivity, same video conferencing, same experience. And really what we feel and see coming is that experience being uniform. And if a member wants to have a meeting, they're able to do it from a conference room via video and not feel like they're on the outside looking in. And there's a study done where I think more than half meetings in the future will have at least one external participant. In the past, it was uncommon to have somebody dial in. Everyone came to meetings and came in place. And now what we're really seeing is members, every meeting requiring an external, not necessarily external, but non-in-person participant. So adapting that with the technology and allowing members to be able to join remotely is key. And even if it's from another WeWork to WeWork location, we're really working at it.
Yeah, fascinating. I really want to have more time to have a larger or longer discussion with you. Maybe we can schedule that in at some point. I think there's so many incredible things around the future of work and how it can be designed. There's such an exciting stage for organizations and how they can build what their future looks like. Absolutely fantastic. But yes, I think Google are really focusing as well on that experience between whether you're in person in a meeting or you're joining virtually, and trying to have that sort of parity or equal ability to contribute within the meeting and the call. And I think you see that maybe with things like companion mode with Google Meet, allowing you to join from devices and have access to some of the activities, interactivity. Again, like Project Starlight as well, a really connected experience in a video call too. So I'm really excited to see how Google keep developing along this thread and what that means for the world of work and how much flexibility it allows us. I think it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, and even some simple functionality like just replying to a meeting that I'll be there in person or virtually. It seems silly, but that's a huge piece where if I'm scheduled a meeting in the office and I know somebody is not going to be there, they're going to be joining virtually, that means I can change the room I'm in to make sure it's video conference enabled and be ready for that. Or maybe I take it from a phone booth because then I can hear better and I'm not in an open office. So it's those small changes as they continue to roll out that I think make a differentiator with Google.
Absolutely. I think it's an incredibly powerful combination between Google's unstoppable innovation, their desire to just keep improving things, and also how much they listen to user feedback. And you mentioned that they've actually implemented, or you're trialing some functionality that you gave some feedback on. I think that's fantastic. The fact that they listen so much and they're so driven to improve things. They're completely unstoppable. And I can't wait to see over the next 5, 10, 20 years how they continue to innovate. It's going to be great.
Yeah, no, it's very exciting to see your feedback come in the form of a trial or actually come into production. So it's exciting to see the continued development. I'm excited for the next 5, 10 years, but I'm really excited to see what comes in the next 6, 8 to 18 months. Like, that's really where things are moving. And I think you're going to see a lot of things change quickly. And it's going to really, with the partnership with WeWork, really change the way people work and how we can enable people to get back into the offices, but in a comfortable and safe manner.
Absolutely. Well, Chad, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure discussing all things productivity, your journey with Google Workspace, WeWork's journey too, some of the transitions that you've made specifically, and then also all these exciting elements of how we can design the future of work and how WeWork and the Google technology will fit into that story. Absolutely fantastic conversation. Thanks so much for joining us, and thanks again, Chad. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.